Hi, everybody. Welcome again to Ivy English. I'm Bruce.
I'm Angela.
And I'm Wesley.
Today we have, as we always do, the first vocabulary test for the month. We have 10 items here with close structure for each sentence, and you must choose which of the four choices, A, B, C, D, is appropriate. For example, number 1, when you come across an unfamiliar word in an article, you can use blank clues, which could include descriptions and examples to figure out its meanings. Or its meaning, because we're talking about one word here. Our choices are A, framework, B, context, C, scenario, or D, texture. Well, by the way, this is a very good learning technique, whether it's your own language or a second language like English for you. There may be many words you don't know at first as you develop your vocabulary, but you can sometimes figure out, well, is it a verb? If it's a noun, is it talking about a type of something or a condition? You guess. There's nothing wrong with guessing as you're learning a language. So here, if you see an unfamiliar word, we could call it a new vocabulary item, how can you figure out its meaning? Well, teachers will tell you that B is the answer here. Look at the context. How does this word fit into the whole idea? The whole idea of the sentence is the context. If one piece is missing, you can often figure out not exactly what it is, but the sort of thing it should be. It wouldn't be framework. We don't talk about framework in terms of learning vocabulary. A scenario is a situation, but we don't talk about situation clues. And then texture. Texture is usually when you use your hands to feel something, the texture of cloth, the texture of wood, and so on. So certainly the best answer is B, context. When you come across an unfamiliar word in an article, you can use context clues, which would include descriptions and examples to figure out its meaning.
好，我们看到这个题目，他说，当你 come across 就是遇到一个 unfamiliar word， 一个你不熟悉的字 in an article， 在一篇文章里面啊，当你遇到你不熟悉的字的时候啊，那其实任何的人啊，就算是他用母语在阅读，也可能会看到他不认识或不熟悉的字。那这个时候要怎么办呢？通常我们就要看上下文来猜啊。所以他这里说 ，you can use， 当你遇到不熟悉的字的时候，你可以使用什么呢？可以使用什么样的 clues， 什么样的线索？好，那 which 就是指这种线索呢 ，could include， 它可能或者可以包含什么线索呢 ？descriptions 一些描述啊，还有 examples 一些例子啊，用这些线索来 figure out 就是 understand 啊 its meaning， 这个 its 就是指那一个 unfamiliar word， 你可以靠这些线索来了解它的意思啊。那我们看选项 A framework 这个字是建筑的或者一个文件的一个架构啊，那这种线索呢，当然也有，但是这不是一个最好的一个选择，我们看看有没有更好的。那 B context 上下文，这个答案很好，因为我们常常讲 context clues， 就是指上下文所给你的线索啊。这个字不认识，你看看前面，看看后面，你可能就可以猜出来大概它的意思是什么了。所以这个目前为止是最好的一个答案。那 C scenario 这个是可能发生的一个状况啊。那这个 scenario 它能够给你的线索不是那么多啊。而且英文这两个字不太常放在一起啊，很少放在一起用。那第四个 texture 这个也很少跟 clues 一起用，因为 texture 这个字是衣料的话是指那个衣料的质地或者是食物的口感啊，那都不对，所以我们这题选 context clues 就是上下文啊，从上下文线索可以了解，可以想出来这个字什么意思。
Number 2, when the little boy said that he wanted to grow puppies in the yard, his parents were amused by the blank idea and cracked up laughing. If you crack up, it means you suddenly burst out laughing. So instead of saying he burst out in laughter, which is kind of formal and old-fashioned, you can say, oh, he totally cracked up. So why did the parents crack up, though? Because the boy said he wanted to grow puppies. And the way that English works is you grow plants, but you raise animals or you raise children. Now, I want to mention grow has been put in quotes, and the point of those quotes is to let you know that there is a wrong word here. Quotes are used in English differently than in Chinese. In Chinese, you use quotes to emphasize something or make it stronger. In English, you use quotes to cast doubt on something or to say, this was what the person said, it's not what I'm saying. So it's used to differentiate something as being maybe wrong, basically. Or at least you don't want to take responsibility for the word, so you put it in quotes. So let's figure out what the blank is. What kind of idea made the parents crack up? Is it a dominant idea, meaning the strongest one or stronger one? Is it an emotional idea? It made everybody tear up. Is it a sensible idea, meaning everyone thought, oh, that's really reasonable? Or is it an absurd idea, something that strikes you as like crazy or not possible? And I think we should choose D, absurd. When the little boy said that he wanted to grow puppies in the yard, his parents were amused by the absurd idea and cracked up laughing.
好，我们看到这个小男孩，他说他要 grow puppies in the yard， 那很好笑，因为 grow 这个字呢，通常是种植的意思，那或者是你的头发在变长啊，这个或者你的胡子变长了 grow beard， 好，但是你不会 grow puppies， 所以这个是很奇怪的用法。那事实上，我们如果要养小狗的话，应该是用 raise， R-A-I-S-E， 好，所以他这个字用错了，所以呢，他的父母亲听的时候就 they were amused by， 他们就觉得因为这件事情觉得很有趣，好 they were amused by something， by the 什么样的 idea， 那所以要在院子里面种小狗，所以这是一个什么样的 idea 呢？这种 idea 会让父母亲觉得很有趣呢？这是一个 absurd 的 idea， 一个荒谬的一个想法，答案是 D。 那因为这个想法很荒谬，父母亲听了觉得很有趣，所以他们就 cracked up laughing， 他们就大笑，就突然之间这个就笑起来了，轰然大笑，觉得很有趣。好，那我们看看其他选项。 A dominant 这个字呢是强大的或者是主宰的啊。然后呢 B emotional 这个字呢是情绪化的或者是激动的。 C sensible 这个字是合理的或者是明智的。那这三个选项呢都不至于让这个父母亲这个 be amused， 所以我们要选的是 D absurd。
Number 3. The country is riddled with serious financial problems. Experts expect that its economy will blank and plunge into a recession. So the country is riddled with, that means to be full of and with bad things. In this case, serious financial problems. That's no fun. Experts in the country expect, they think that in the future, its economy, the country's economy, will blank and plunge into a recession. Well, it's already in bad condition, so the effect on the economy will blank and plunge into a recession. Well, A, falter is to become weaker and or to lose something. Recover is the opposite. It's to get better, to become stronger. Stabilize means it stays the same, and descend means to go down. So A and D are quite similar, and you might think, well, what's the difference? It seems as though the situation is one that is getting worse and worse. So first it would falter, and then it would plunge. Plunge is to fall down, to drop very quickly, very seriously. Descend is not used in this situation. We don't talk about a descending economy. You can talk about a faltering company, a faltering economy. So that's a better choice than D. The country is riddled with serious financial problems. Experts expect that its economy will falter and plunge into a recession.
OK, be riddled with 就是充满的意思，所以这个国家充满了严重的 serious financial problems， 就是这个财政上的问题。好，然后呢 experts expect that 专家预期它的经济会怎么样呢？我们要找一个选项出来。那句子的后面是 and plunge into a recession。plunge into plunge 就是急坠而下，所以它可能会急坠而下。 进入一个衰退期，好，这个 recession 一个衰退。好，那我们看看选项 A falter， 这个字不错哈，因为 falter 这个字本来指的是走路不稳，好，那可以表示用来蹒跚，好，我们讲的蹒跚，或者它可以用来表示衰退或者变弱，好 falter 站不稳了，那应该是先站不稳，然后才会 plunge into a recession， 好，所以这个选项不错。我们看看有没有更好的选项。 B recover 它是复原的意思， C stabilize 是稳定下来的意思，那 D descend 它是下降或者是降临啊。那这个选项呢好像也可以，但是其实没有 falter 好，因为 falter 到 plunge into 这中间是有一个变坏的过程，越来越糟越来越糟，好，这是一个原因。所以 descend 它只是这个降临或者下降，而且通常我们不会说 economy will descend， 没有这种用法哈，所以第一这个选项不对，我们选 falter。
Number 4, the gunman held the people in the bank blank and demanded $1 million. So there's really only one word for this situation. And also, there's a word that's commonly collocated with it right there. The gunman held, H-E-L-D, held the people in the bank hostage. You can only hold people hostage in this situation where you've got people under gunpoint and you ask for money for them. That's a hostage situation. So choose B. The gunman held the people in the bank hostage and demanded $1 million.
好，那这个句子里面有几个很好的 collocation， 其中一个其实可以帮你解题。好，我们讲 hold somebody hostage 就是把某些人把他抓为人质。好，那所以在这里呢 the gunman 这个枪手 held 他抓怎么样 the people in the bank 把银行里面的人把他抓起来，把他们抓起来变成人质。好，所以或者人质了。好，正确应该是念人质。好，那所以正确答案就是 hostage B。好，他把他们抓起来当人质。然后呢 demanded 要求要$100万，这个也不少钱了啊。好，我们看看其他选项。A narrator 是一个叙述者，好，那没有什么 hold someone narrator， 没有这种用法哈。其实 suspect 是嫌疑犯，那英文也没有这种 hold somebody suspect 这种用法，也没有，那也没有那种 hold somebody volunteer 或者 volunteer 把某些人抓来当志愿者，都没有这种说法，所以文法意义上这个 A、C、D 都不对，我们选 B hostage。Okay,
now we're ready for number 5. The blank wedding took place in a magnificent palace. It cost a staggering $5 million, and the roster contained some big-name attendees. Well, from number 4 and number 5, we can see someone has a lot of money on the mind, from $1 million to $5 million. But for number 5, we're talking about just a wedding, which costs $5 million, we assume U.S. dollars here. And so they could hold it in a magnificent, a wonderful, a kind of fairyland palace. And $5 million is a staggering amount of money. And the roster, a roster is a list of names. So it means the people who attended the wedding, they are the attendees, and some of them had big names. They were famous or powerful people, or perhaps celebrities, famous people. Well, what kind of a wedding are we talking about here? A, modest? Hardly. We're talking about a $5 million event in a palace with a lot of important people. A courteous wedding? We cannot describe a wedding as being courteous. Lavish? Aha! Lavish is to spend a great deal of money on something, or to provide a great amount of something. Magnetic? No, it doesn't work here. There are no magnetic weddings, so choose C, lavish. The lavish wedding took place in a magnificent palace. It cost a staggering $5 million, and the roster contained some big-name attendees.
好，所以有一个婚礼，怎么样的婚礼？它是 took place 举行在一个 magnificent palace 一个很雄伟富丽堂皇的一个宫殿里面举行，那花费是 a staggering 就是一笔令人吃惊啊，本来让这个 staggering 是让你站不稳的意思啊，是一笔令人吃惊的多少钱呢？$500万。然后呢 the roster 就是那个人参加者的名单 contained 包含一些 big name 一些知名的大牌的 attendees 就是出席者所以这个婚礼显然是很 expensive 或者很豪华很奢华好我们看看我们的选项 A modest 它是很谦虚的啊，这个不是很贵的啊，所以这个答案不对。Courteous 是有礼貌的啊，跟钱刚才这个句子里面讲到那么多钱没有关系，而且不会用 courteous 来修饰这个 wedding。那 C lavish 这个是对的，它是奢华的意思啊，所以正确答案是 lavish。那 D magnetic 是有磁力的啊，这也很怪哈，这个婚礼跟磁力没有关系，所以不对。
Number 6. The teenage girl used to blank against her parents and break the household rules. However, the tension has been eased since they started communicating more. So there's some sort of problem between the girl and her parents. What did she used to do? Did she used to rebel against her parents, which means go against their desires and wishes and fight with them? Did she used to testify against her parents? That means she officially spoke about their wrongdoing in a court. Did she used to paddle against her parents? I mean, normally you use paddle to propel a boat and you paddle against the current. So paddle against works, but we won't paddle against people. We'll paddle against the current in water. And B, campaign. If you campaign against something, you're making an organized process against something or for something, like a political campaign or a campaign against pornography, for instance. So I would say choose A, because that's the only one that makes sense here. The teenage girl used to rebel against her parents and break the household rules. However, the tension has been eased since they started communicating more.
好，这位青少年的女生呢，她本来 used to 原来过去常常怎么样 rebel against her parents， 这个是很常见的 collocation， 就是反抗或者是叛逆哈，针对她的父母亲。然后呢，他会 break the household rules， 他会不遵守家里的规矩，好的 household rules。好，但是呢 the tension has been eased， 但是他们之间的这种紧张关系已经慢慢舒缓了。好 since 自从怎么样 they started communicating more， 自从这个父母亲跟这个小孩之间有更多的沟通，开始更多的沟通，状况就缓和了，所以我们选 rebel。 那 B testify 是在法院上作证，好举证指控某人，好，所以这个不对。那 C paddle 是划船啊，用桨划船，所以这个 paddle against her parents 啊，不知道在讲什么，不可能这样用。D campaign 是进行一个发起或者进行一个运动哈，我们可以 campaign against something 哈，但在这里你不会 campaign against 你的 parents， 所以这个也不对，我们选 rebel。
Number 7. The president chose 12 government officials as blank to the international conference.They will discuss matters related to encouraging cooperation with other countries. So we have 12 government officials who have been chosen as what? To an international conference? Well, A, nominees. If the president chose them, they're no longer nominees. Refugees, very doubtful. Delegates makes a lot of sense, though.A delegate is a representative, and the president can choose people to represent the country that they work in, live in. Certificates are pieces of paper, so you don't choose them to attend an international conference. Definitely choose C, delegates.The president chose 12 government officials as delegates to the international conference.They will discuss matters related to encouraging cooperation with other countries.
好，所以这位总统呢，他选了12位的政府官员当做什么呢？我们看到后面是 the international conference， 一个国际会议，所以你派一个代表团去参加国际会议，我们选的是 C delegates。好，把他们选为代表参加这个国际会议。好，那他们会讨论 matters 一些事情，这些事情是 related to 和什么有关呢？这些事情是和 encouraging cooperation with 就是鼓励或者促进合作啊 with other countries， 他们要谈的是如何鼓励或者促进和其他国家的合作。好，那我们看看选项，刚刚已经知道了，正确选项是 delegates。那我们看其他的 A nominees， 他是被提名人啊，他是要去参加会议，所以他不是被提名人，他是 delegates， 他是代表团或代表。好，那 refugees 是难民啊，也不是要把官员选为难民，也不对。Certificates 是证书，是一张纸啊，所以官员不能选为证书，这也是不对的，我们选 delegates。Number
8, a blank plan for our science project has been drawn up.But it may be subject to change if circumstances require. To draw up a plan means to make the plan. So they haven't started yet, but they have the plan. But it may be subject to change. If something is subject to change, it means it can be changed. It's tentative, and it's subject to change if circumstances require, which is to say, if the situation changes, the plan will change. So what kind of plan do we have? Is it a legislative plan? Has it been made by the highest lawmaking body in the country? Is it a comparative plan? Is it a plan for looking at A and B and comparing the two? Is it a lucrative plan? Is it going to make us lots of money? Moolah. Or is it D, a tentative plan, meaning we kind of know what we want to do, but we're not sure, we haven't committed to it yet? And I'm going to say D is our best choice. A tentative plan for our science project has been drawn up, but it may be subject to change if circumstances require.
好，那这个句子里面题目有3个常见的 collocation 哈，一个是 draw up a plan， 就是规划好、拟好的一个计划。然后呢 be subject to change 就是有可能会改变的，这个很常看到，尤其是正式的文件里面啊，这个东西有可能会改变，叫做 be subject to change。那后面常常接的是另外一个常见的 collocation if circumstances require， 如果状况需要的话 circumstances 就是状况的意思。好，所以我们看到这个句子，它就是说我们科学这个 project 啊，这个整个的一个计划啊，我们已经规划好了，但是有可能会改变哈，如果状况改变的话，好，那我们要选什么选项呢？所以这个计划还没有定下来。那我们看看 A legislative 就是这个立法方面的，然后呢 B comparative 是比较的，这用来形容计划都怪怪的。lucrative 是可以赚大钱的，这也怪怪的哈。那第4个 tentative 这个就对了，因为 tentative 是暂定的、不确定的，所以这个计划还是暂定而已。如果状况改变，我们可能会改变。好，所以我们要选的是 D tentative 这个字很好用啊，它就表示我们常常讲 tentative plans 或者 tentative agreement 等等的，表示暂定的意思。
Okay, number 9.The band was struggling because they initially didn't have any funding or connections, but they blank in creating music and eventually made it big. We're talking about a group of people who play music and or sing and play music together. If you're struggling, you're not doing very well financially. It's hard times economically for you.Because at first, when they just got started, they didn't have any funding. Funding is financial support or connections. They didn't know people who could help them, people who are in the business of guiding and supporting groups so that they will become successful in the future. But this is the band members, blank in creating music.And eventually made it big. If you make it big, you are very successful. So they enrolled in creating music. That means they began to study it. Well, they're already band members. Dissolved in creating music. We can't use that in English. Ushered in creating music. No, that doesn't work either. Persisted in. If you persist in doing something, you won't quit.You will keep trying your best. You will do it again and again until you're successful. So choose D. The band was struggling because they initially didn't have any funding or connections, but they persisted in creating music and eventually made it big.
好，所以这个乐团 band 他们曾经有一段时间在挣扎啊，因为他们 initially 起初didn't have any funding 没有任何的资金或者资助，也没有 connections 也没有人脉哈。那但是呢他们怎么样 persisted in 这是正确答案，他们坚持哈 you persist in doing something， 所以他们坚持 creating music 创作音乐，然后呢 eventually 最后终于 made it big 就是取得很重大的或者很大的成就啊。OK， 我们看其他选项 A enrolled in 是注册上课啊，那这个地方他们已经在创作了，所以不是去上课学创作。那 B dissolved 是指固体的溶解啊，在这里也很怪哈。然后呢 C ushered in 是这个带领进来好引入的意思，我们常常讲 ushered in a new era 开创了一个新纪元哈 ERA 但放在这里这个字也不对，那我们选的是 persisted in， 就是坚持的意思。
Since e-cigarettes pose many health risks, critics assert that they should be banned blank. They believe that action must be taken right now before more people fall victim. So the blank is about some time-dependent thing because they believe the action must be taken right now. So that's the clue that we're given here. Also, the blank word is after the verb banned. We could just have the whole sentence without the blank word because critics assert that they should be banned is a complete sentence. However, the blank word is telling us how they should be banned. So let's look at our choices. Should they be banned astray? That's not a collocation. You can lead somebody astray, like if I led Bruce to believe that chocolate came from cows. I would
it comes from chocolate cows.
Yes. So I led Bruce astray. It could be banned outright, means completely banned. Or they could be banned deliberately. If you do something deliberately, it means you mean to do it. But I mean, when you ban something, you mean to do it. So that kind of is silly to say we meant to ban it. It's like, of course we did. So don't choose C. And then D, respectively. Respectively is a great word that allows you to organize words in a sentence. If you say A plus A and B and then 1 and 2, you know that 1 goes with A and 2 goes with B if you will use the word respectively. And I'll let Wesley explain that more. Punting that down the line. But so I said that the clue was about time, but in fact, the best word here we have is outright. So outright is also kind of timely, I guess. But basically, the best word here is outright. You want to completely ban e-cigarettes. So I guess if you completely ban them, then you're saving a whole bunch of people from future problems. So since e-cigarettes pose many health risks, critics assert that they should be banned outright. They believe that action must be taken right now before more people fall victim.
好，所以自从这个电子烟 pose many health risks， 就是它造成了很多健康上的威胁或者风险。那 critics assert that assert 的主张，所以批评者主张 they should be banned， 他们应该被禁止，而且是 outright， 就是彻底的被禁止，所以正确答案是 B。好，那他们相信，他们认为呢 action must be taken right now， 马上立刻就必须要采取行动 before more people fall victim， 在更多的人 fall victim 后面常常会加个 to， 就是成为受害者。好，所以他们认为更多人受害之前应该要立刻采取行动。好，那我们看到其他选项 A astray， 这个是这个迷路或者出错，通常我们讲 lead someone astray 就是引导某人误入歧途。那 go astray 就是迷路的意思，走错路了。好，所以这个答案不对。C 这个答案 deliberately 这个是故意的。那这个既然是 banned 当然是故意的，所以不需要再用一个故意的来修饰它，所以 C 也不对。那 D respectively 是分别的，我们英文常常看到 A and B 如何如何 respectively， 就是 A 是这样子， A 是如何如何， B 是另外的如何如何，就 A 跟 B 分别如何如何。所以这个字呢是学术文章里面常常会用到的字，所以这个字很重要。好，但是这个不是我们正确答案，我们正确答案是 outright。
Okay, that's it for today, our first lesson for this year, 2022. We hope to be able to serve you right through the end of this year and maybe even into next year. Until then, bye-bye.